I think we went further than that what you mentioned.
Well, we made an attempt to go further.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Okay, maybe biyah. Okay. Okay. We learned it this morning, but this is something which I really don't want to miss. This morning, we were not prepared for this. The line that's on Maluk Bibiyah, Validei Ze Yedim Gamas or Insom Amufla Mehoilamus. That's the point that we're up to. All right. The important thing that we have to try and sense when we talk about knowing Elokus the way it is in Biyah, the way it is Mislabish and Kalim. Means to say, this is the real challenge. Yes, it's Mislabish and Kalim. But we know not the Keli. We know the Elokus that's in the Keli. That is the challenge. This is what we explained throughout this whole, it's 2 weeks that we're learning this little page here. By the muscle, from a human being. As we pointed out, whatever the human being builds, like we say, he builds a bridge across a river. He builds an airplane to fly in the air. He builds a car to carry him across the country. It's a physical keli that we fully understand how it works. We understand the mechanics of it. But that is not what a car is. A car was created not because it can work mechanically. It was created because there's a human spirit that initiated it. So even though this human spirit, and it also at various levels, by the point where it was expressed in a car, has already been reduced to something which has been specifically identified, to the point where it can be represented, a mechanical machine. It still retains that oil, that spirit. Like we explained many times, the concept of a car per se is something which is really a nefesh inyan. I won't say neshama inyan. It's a nefesh inyan. It's exclusively a human thing. Because a human being, even the nefesh habamis also has seichel, as the Rebbe explains. It cannot be contained a human being to be confined in one area, in one room, even if he has everything he needs. Like we speak all the time, imprisonment is one of the most painful states that a person can be. To be in jail, even if it is a, so to speak, a modern jail, not in a third world country, but in a progressive country where the jailed people are allowed to live normal lives. They eat and they sleep and they play chess and they play tennis. Even they can even walk around in the courtyard of the jail. And yet, it's a tremendous suffering. It's one of the most painful things that even have for a guy. Why? Because of this confinement. What's so painful about the confinement? He has everything he needs. Because a human being cannot be confined in a limited arena. His view is to open space. And to be confined is something which is confining his nefesh, which is reducing his nefesh to an animal level. What?
It's claustrophobic.
Claustrophobic. The truth is that claustrophobia has to do with that also. The idea of a claustrophobia, the phobia is something which is unique. Some people have this phobia, this condition. But everyone has this feeling that he cannot be cloistered, limited in an area. Those who do not have this phobia, so to speak, who do not get that effect, is because they can be in a room, but they project what's doing outside of the room. Those who have this phobia means they cannot project beyond the wall. There's something that limits their projection. But for a person to perceive that he is cloistered in a limited area is very, very painful for every human being. Because that's a nefesh thing. So, coming back to our car. The car was conceptualized because of human necessity to be able to have a free movement, wherever to go wherever you want, wherever you can go. Once the car has been built, now it is a mechanical machine. The mechanical machine itself is only a mechanical tool. And as a matter of fact, some people use it to go in races, to go in circles where they go nowhere. But everyone understands that this is not what a car is about, to go in circles. In other words, the tool itself does not necessarily speak for long journeys. It is important that the human being not lose sight of the spirit that created it. This is what I'm saying. The Malak Olam means that one must not lose sight of the oyer, of the spirit that created this keli, even though it's a finite keli. And if you look at the keli, you say, oh, yeah, it's very nice. We'll go right around the block. So this is the principle of saying. The Malak Olam means there is the oil that is something to the point where it can be in a keli. But that oil, even though once it's in the keli, that oil we can have hasoga in this oil. We can understand the principle of this oil in our motion. We can understand the principle in itself. This is what we say here. This hasoga in this oyer, this is what's called the hasoga in the kelim, and that itself can be in two different levels, because hasoga is hamahus or hasoga is hametzius, as we discussed. Okay,
exactly. Where are you in the text?
What is it? It's on page Kuf Ayin Aleph.
In the book?
In the book? Oh, in the book it's it's AyinBase 14.
Okay.
And it's 3 lines from the bottom. Lam begins 4 lines from the bottom. Lam begins with Hamufla Mehoilamis.
Okay.
No, the Lam begins began Aiden. I have 5 lines from the bottom. Okay. So I'd like to know before I go on, do we understand the point which I'm emphasizing here?
Well,
that even after it's in the keli, we understand the oil that's established in the keli, not the keli. Everybody understands the keli. Like I mentioned, I have a long talk on the blog to distinguish between intellect and instinct. And I give an example over there. Something which I saw myself. One of my grandchildren sent me a video, a little clip, where a bird, a raven, I guess, I don't know what kind of bird. I guess it's a raven. The raven was perched on top of a slanted roof. Slanted roof was full of snow, was slippery. And it found some kind of shard, some kind of a broken piece of pottery. And it brought it up to the tip of this slanted roof, settled into it, and slid down the roof. And after it reached the bottom, what did it do? Picked it up again, and flew back with it on top of the roof, and slid back again.
like a sled?
Like
Yeah.
a sled.
Yeah.
Going for a ride?
Yeah.
Going for a ride.
Huh.
Went back.
You got a video of this?
I saw it too.
You saw it too?
Yeah.
I mean, people see this and say, oh yeah, they're right. Animals are smart. Animals have instinct. This is not intellect. Those who visit the blog, Sheminism has an offshoot, has a sub directory on it. It's called extra material.
Right, different tab.
Huh?
Another tab, yeah.
Another tab, extra material.
Yeah.
And in there are a lot of interesting things. And one of them is a whole discussion of understanding intellect versus instinct.
What do we learn from that bird?
We learn from that bird that hopefully our intellect is not on that level. As we pointed out, to ride in a car in circles is missing the whole point. It's missing the whole point of the spirit of without creating the car. That bird couldn't care less. It was involved in the keli, in the sliding. Like little children. I remember when I was a child, we saw a car, somebody came in with a car, give us a ride, you know. the whole thing, you go, a ride. That's not what a car is.
No, we started with this mashal because the nimshal is to see or to sense the way that Or is dressed into kalim, but yet we sense lukus per se.
That's right. That's exactly one point. It comes down into a keli. They say, well, it's very much betzimtzum. We explained this whole phenomenon that this spirit is also something until the point where it's something to the point where it can be actually represented with a mechanical thing, keli.
I think.
Still, we have to, as human beings, note and recognize the spirit in it, the human spirit, the seichel.
Okay. By the mashal, we're talking about the human spirit, and I think it's perhaps clear, or I sense that fairly directly. By the nimshal, I'm not sure I'm getting what. I'm not sure I'm getting sense of what's being pointed out here.
Okay. The nimshal, it is so to speak, a broad things across the entire spectrum of human experience, the entire spectrum of the world. For example, we have 4 categories in the world: doimim, suimeach, chai, medaber. Each one of these 4 categories has an unlimited variety of species, of representations. A diamond is a diamond, A pearl is a diamond. And a coal is a diamond. Pretty different creations. And each one represents a certain meaning. This is by the diamond man. You go to the Tzimeach, it's a whole world. In that talk, I urge you to listen to it. It's a little longer. It's an hour and 15 minutes, but I urge you to listen to it. And from time to time, I go back and listen to it myself, because we really took pains to discuss it in great detail. And the morsel of it that we use is a tree. A tree. Examining the whole process of how a human being understands a tree until he reaches to the point where he understands its full impact.
To the point that he understands what?
The impact, what a tree stands for. And at every level, there's an inner key in it. Just to, again, I urge you to try to find the time to listen to this. I'm looking for someone who would volunteer to work it out and put it on paper. It will be easier to disseminate. I just want to point out one of the final points in that thing. Everybody knows that a tree draws sustenance, nourishment from the ground. Everybody knows that the tree is rooted in the ground by its roots, and this is what enables it to stand and to withstand all the various attacks that it has from the winds and the rains and all that. At first glance, and this is the big debate that we have with the naturalists. The naturalist would say, yeah, the tree has roots, and in order to stand, the tree wants to stand. So it digs its roots very deeply into the ground to hold on for dear life onto the ground. Right?
Right.
So I say it like this. This is when you see it without seichel. Tree stands, so it must be holding on. But if you examine this tree with seichel, you see that the tree does not demonstrate any sense of concern for its existence. The tree is concerned exclusively about growing and producing its fruit, producing its leaves, and developing. It's not concerned about existence, about its what's called survival. There's no survival concern there at all. When you think about it deeper, they ask a question: why would the tree want to survive? What's in it? What kind of spirit is this? And you come to realize that it's the opposite. It's not the tree holding on to the ground, it's the ground holding on to the tree. Because who produced the tree in the first place? The ground. The ground produced the tree. And it's the ground holding on to the tree and giving it all its nourishment to make sure this tree survives. Because it's the ground's creation. And then we go further. This is part of this earth. The ground producing the tree, that makes perfect good sense. Why? Because the ground is the abode for all the creatures in the world. The ground has to provide food for all the animals. I have so many guests. So I'm providing for them. And the ground is really capable of holding on to unlimited number of trees and supporting it, giving nourishment, because it's its responsibility. I'm the host here.
What does that mean? It's responsibility. I mean,
You're the host.
enjoyment.
Oh, this is the godly spirit. God created the earth. What's earth? Earth is on top of this earth have put human beings and everything else. This is where you see the godly spirit. The earth is not just a domain. The earth is the home for all the creatures on the earth.
So it has spirit.
What?
It has spirit.
It doesn't have spirit, its own spirit. This is the godly spirit.
Right, I understand.
It
Just-
represents
just
the
like-
godly spirit.
Just like a car, what you're saying.
Yeah,
okay.
it's a godly spirit. Because it has that, so to speak, that this is what it was created for, and it fulfills its responsibility. It replenishes and gives nourishment to the tree and holds on to the tree to make sure that the tree has everything it needs.
So this what you're describing is the elokus element that is in the keli of.
That's exactly right.
Oh,
It's the Elokus element.
yeah. This is very hard. I'll tell you why. I'll be very exact here. When I was in high school, we learned in poetry personification. You're giving human attributes to inanimate objects. So, lahavdil, here it just starts to sound like that.
That's right. It not only sounds like that. That's exactly what we say. But we say that it's not the earth that's doing it. It's the God who created the earth that put that spirit in it.
What's the difference there?
That's the whole difference. Different to the earth, when the world made itself, and the world made itself would be a dead, meaningless world. It never happened.
No, but your statement that the earth cares or the earth is made to care by God, is that the difference?
There's a godly spirit that was put into it. I mean, we're not giving the earth any
No
kind of human qualities.
No, okay.
I'm explaining The earth is the keli for what? For the godly spirit to develop a world on the physical level.
Is that similar to Koach HaSameach?
This is the Koach HaSameach that was put in the earth.
That's the Orlukus that is embedded in.
That's right. It's
doing-
oiliki, it's a mimale, it's a very low level, but it's mislabish in the earth. And even after it's mislabish, we have to note the oiliki that's in it. And that is the fact that we're experiencing all the time. The earth supports all its inhabitants.
Even the deceased.
Why does it support me? I mean, this is the godly spirit that was put into the creation. This is part of the. This is what makes it obvious that it's a godly creation. Surely the tree does not have the spirit, I want to survive, and the earth does not have the spirit, I want to support you. It's the godly, it's the godly spirit that it represents, that was imbued in it. It's a molecule. Again, I urge you to listen to it. I want to point out, take a few steps further. So the earth is supporting and giving the tree its nourishment, and the tree grows. The earth so to speak, says to the tree, do not be concerned about survival at all. I'll take care of you. You do your job as best you can. Natural job. What is your natural job? To grow into a beautiful tree, right? To create shade when it's needed, and develop leaves, and ultimately create a fruit. In the fruit, there are two distinct elements. There is the element in the fruit that represents the element, the nourishing that the tree provided, the vitamins and minerals and all that is part in the tree, in the fruit. And then there is a totally unrelated aspect. And that is the form, the beauty of the fruit. If it were just a question of nourishment, it doesn't have to be so beautiful. Why does an apple have to be beautiful? An orange? Every fruit has its particular richness and what's its appearance. A bunch of grapes is really a beautiful sight to behold. What is that about? The answer is, if we really think into it, that the earth was created by God, and all its capabilities were created by God, and all that's on it was created by God. And all of these things have a practical purpose. The earth supports all its inhabitants. It's a practical purpose. Altogether, they represent the kingdom, a bira. That's what we talk about, a bira. A bira represents the abode of a king. In the abode of a king, everything has to be orderly and beautiful. Which is beyond the practical need. If an apple has no shape and it's contorted, it will still be just as nourishing. But it will not belong in the king's palace, garden. All this, and then some. I mean, first of all, I said I urge you again to listen to. This is the oil of the key that's mislabish in the physical world. And anyone, our seichel, this is why we have seichel. It's undeniable. You live it, you see it all the time. This
These
is
are all
what,
examples of a Malik Kolalman.
yes, this is what seichel is. Seichel is a godly gift to the human being to see things from their inception, their meaning perspective. Why does the tree hold on to the earth? Doesn't hold on to it. Why does the earth hold on to the tree? Because there's a living world.
Sorry to interrupt. I need to know if there's going to be a meaning here.
Well, it looks like there's a meaning.
No, but maybe people.
Who did not daven?
Who didn't
Who did not daven?
Yeah.
I did not.
One second. So we have 3, 4, there's 4.
Why? There's always only two people holding up their hand.
Counting him is fine.
Who?
Counting him is fine.
Deduction.
I'm sorry, you didn't daven, right? So pick up your hand. Come on, they're counting. So we
It's
have
only 5, so okay.
5 who did not
daven?
I'm
daven.
minion at
Not
9:30. It's okay. I can.
You can take a chance.
So there's only 5, right?
In the future, should we dive in the here for the future?
We used to
I
be,
thought
but it
we always
doesn't work
davened
out.
here.
anymore.
For the price of
Did anyone not pay attention when they daven? That they
Svi, you
just
want
go
you
the
want to
second
see if you
time?
have a member in your house?
After the shir.
Nobody there.
You know, you can say all the words in the siddur
Huh?
when you davened.
He went out for Turkey.
For turkey. You can't eat turkey before a Ma'ariv.
Because you're falsely?
It's okay. I have a minion then.
All right, you come back?
Yeah,
Okay.
right after.
All right, good.
Good, because there's going to be a.
Okay, so now we've taken this, you've taken this to really obvious level. This is the meaning that we should see the oir eliki that's mislabish in keli. This would be a malkulam. Not the keli, see the keli. See the keli is, like I said, to see a car that knows that can go in circles. You're missing the whole point. There's no oil in it. There's no life in it. No spirit to it. It's like the bird going down the slanted roof. Where is he going? Just the experience of sliding down.
What
Fruit,
about?
like the ore is most misguided in the fruit, is that the point?
Huh?
About the fruit, you're saying the fruit is that the ore itself is most revealed in the fruit than anywhere else? Is that what
I don't hear what you're saying.
the point with the fruit is because the ore
The fruit, I
itself
said,
is more revealed
the fruit is the pinnacle, is the
revelation
ultimate,
of the ore.
is the ultimate thing. It's all it is oil. So you have to go back to art and produce this tree. You should see that this is oil key.
You could commission it. We could commission it.
I send you a bunch of grapes. I have a good bunch of grapes.
We'll start with that. That's fine.
You could put that on your thing.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Want me to need some more water? It's okay. Okay. So this is clear. We've discussed, but now we went all the way down to the point. This is the pshat hasoga in the oil eliki, and here we see clearly the difference. Whether you're looking at a godly creation, or you're looking at a dead, meaningless world. To which you're attributing some kind of a desire to survive from where? Where did he get that? Where did he get that desire to survive from?
Rabbi,
Mm-hmm.
we speak about the Malik Alman here. Is Malik Alman what gives a significance to whatever we're relating to, or is it what provides for us to see the fact that there is a significance? You said that,
Okay. I don't understand the question.
well, everything Gashmi is essentially comes from, it's created from God in a level beyond the earth. It's not something the earth, it's the godly itself, the Gashmi is itself, what is created. Is a Malik Alman what allows us to relate to this fact, or is a Malik Alman, like you said, the human spirit, like behind the table? That the human, that gives us the ability to see that a table is not just wood and components, rather a full entity.
The molecule element is what creates all the variety in the world. All the variety in the world is the result of the fact that the oil Eliki, that is the source, the impetus and the source of life for everything in the world, is a big world. This is why it expresses itself in unlimited variety. In Kalim, that without limit. As I said, every leaf has its own design. Because in the oil there is this the different types of designs, different type of chayas. And a different design of a leaf is a different, slightly different oil chayas. Like Basento said about Hashgochim, in terms of Hashgocha Protis, if a leaf turns over from one side to the other in the middle of the street, if it turns over by cause of a wind, of a breeze, or it turns over because some living creature, a human being or an animal, kicked it, is a difference. It's all part of a hierarchy. That's what Mamalik Olam. And the point is that in Mamalik Olam we are capable. This is saying that the whole Ayin, that this whole creation is for the purpose that we should be able to know Him. There's an element that we know through the oil when it's mislavish in Kalim, we can actually know the oil Eliki. And we can know the oil Eliki on, I said in general, 2 levels, Metzius and Mahus.
Both of these are knowable through Mamalik Olam?
Right. Mahus is a much higher level of knowledge. We discussed that. Mahus is the way the neshamas know it in Gan Eden, without the constraints of the body, or the way it's known in Atzilus, and Metzius is known in Biyah.
Metzius is known in Metzius.
What we just now discussed is all Metzius.
It is?
Yes, the Metzius of the Oil Eliki.
It was not the Metzius per se, it was not earth itself, it was...
No, it's oil Eliki, but we identified that there is an oil Eliki. That's called Metzius.
As opposed to...
And this is the most that we can know?
This is the most that we can know, right. But in this most that we can know, the more we reflect on it, the more we learn about it, the better, the more we know. But this is, the general level is this. We even discuss the difference between Mahus and Metzius the other day. Might as well do it now again, since we have gotten to this level. So we illustrated Metzius versus Mahus, or Mahus versus Metzius, in the following way. Chochmah, in general, relates to Mahus. Bina, and further down, relates to Metzius. The physical experience of Chochmah is an ear, is sight. Bina is from Shmiya, hearing, and all other faculties. The difference between sight and all other faculties is that the other faculties all relate to a certain aspect, to the keli, to a certain aspect of the entity. Like we said, a table. If you touch a table, you cannot, if you think about it, you cannot touch a table. You can only touch the wood from which it was made. Its form. You cannot touch a table per se. A sight looks at a table. Not only because it sees the entire form at the same time. You can feel your way around and feel the entire table. That's not the point. The point is, in sight you see the form as a table. What does that mean? You see it in context. This same table, if it is out of context, if it is in a desert, it's wood. Wood in a certain form. It's not a table. What's a table? What's a table?
Place to convene.
A table represents human stature, human quality of malchus. That's what a table is. Convene, he's saying. Why convene? Because it's a completely different. I said it's midas hamalchus, as expressed on a gashmistic level. Where is that recognized? It's recognized only when the table is in the home, and people around it. In other words, there's a whole context. To see this context is possible only in Re'iyah. Sight relates to the entire context. Not just to the physical presence, but to what it stands for. This is try to see the mahus. But even then, because we are in gufim, in our bodies, so the seeing the context is like seeing the mitzias of the context, mitzias of the mahus. But the mahus per se is something which we cannot really observe. Mahus exists. Okay, let me take you back a little bit before I go. I always give the example of a clock on the wall. The clock on the wall, the clock is a clock, the wall is a wall. They have no connection to one another. When you notice a clock, you go into a home and there's a clock on the wall, it gives you a completely different message. Not that this wall has a clock. It gives you a message that in this home lives a human being to whom time matters. An active human being. to whom passage of time is significant. In other words, it represents a reality, a human reality, a reality in human life. In principle, this surfaces by recognizing that this clock did not fall on the wall by accident. Well, it's not that the clock clung to the wall. Somebody put the clock on the wall. Not only because it cannot by accident ever happen physically, but because the whole message is that this is the human being putting the clock on the wall. That's what it's about. You understand?
So that's
Not just the mechanics of it, that it cannot happen like this. The message of it is that a human being put it there. Because it represents a human phenomenon.
So that's the Chokhmah to the Mount.
What?
So that's the Chokhmah to the Mount.
Wood.
The
Yes.
Chokhmah to the mouse.
Yeah, this is a Mahus element.
Mouse.
Mahus is true only because God created the world. Because there's an intent in its presence, not an accident. There's a reality behind this presence. That's means Mahus. Metzius means it's a presence. As we have now seen, we have identified various levels in Metzius and levels in Mahus. In truth, however, the Rebbe says, and this is hopefully can become clear, Mahus, we in our state here, in Meshama Beguf, cannot see the Mahus of Vayelaki. We can only see Metzius. If we see Mahus, like we discussed, the Mahus, this is the Metzius of the Mahus, but to conceptualize the Mahus is not possible for us. Because our seichel is in the shom in the goof, and therefore the goof immediately demands that there be some kind of a tangible keli. Tangible keli is not mahus already. It's not a reality. Not a reality. Okay, whatever we get here, but this is the point that. Begin the Ishtamedunle, so that he would be known, means he would be known through Kalim. Oil be Kali. But it'll be the oil that will be known. Oil Aliki. Okay, so let me just go just a step further, so at least we'll know what's coming up. Okay, but Ali Deizeh, and then Ali Deizeh, through this process, as a result of this process, when you get to identify, to actually see Ayin, the Oyer Leki in Biyah, in the world, then Yoidim, then as a result we know also Gam as Oirin Soiv Hamufla Mehoilimus. You can also know the Oirin Soiv Hamufla Mehoilimus, the Oirin Soiv that is remote and completely above worlds, the Haina Bechina Seva Kolam, which is the beginning of Seva Kolam. So far we're talking about Memala Kolam, which means we're talking about the oil that can and ultimately is identified through a Keli. We are able to see the oil in the Keli, but still it's identified in the Keli. Seva Kolam means something which is above Keli altogether. Mufla Me'olis. It's not a worldly phenomenon altogether. Just a minute. I'm sorry.
It seemed like we said that because we're in a goof, you cannot really sense mahus.
Right.
And now we're coming to say that Sivik Omen, which seems higher even than mahus,
Of course.
is
We know about it. This idea of Sevikul Amin is only ideas Amitzias, as we're going to see. But we know about it. Like I pointed out, pardon me now, Moshe, that with Seichel we can know we can understand the principle of getting from one place to the other, which is an Neshama Inyan. He can go. He's not limited to where he is. He can go from one place to the other. Then the Baal Shem Tov says, "Mokem shelitzenu shalom shomahu." That a person, in truth, a person is where he wants to be. This is not a worldly phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
In world, to be else than where you are, you have to get there. And yet, if we fully understand the Inyan from the Malik Olam, how the Oyer and the Ki or the Oyer HaNefesh is mislabish in Keli, we can have an idea in that which is higher than world. As we pointed out many times in discussing this phenomenon of a person moving from place to place, that there is the element where he is where he wants to be. The movement comes later to actualize, to show the reality where he is. But the certainty he is there already.
Da